Hi everyone, welcome to Run Haven House and Garden. My name is Jenna. Some days you just need something to fill those beautiful bowls or urns or whatever it is you're displaying. And today we are going to make some gorgeous bowl filler that is both inexpensive and beautiful. First, you're going to need some foam spheres. The ones that I'm using are about 4 to 4.5 inches. You're also going to need some paper napkins. I happen to have the cocktail size because this is what I came across in this gorgeous pattern. This is very much my color palette and I loved the ferns. Importantly, these napkins usually seem like they're 2-ply, but they're almost always 3-ply. So you want to be absolutely sure that you peel off just that top layer. The next step is to just cut out your shapes. You don't have to be terribly precise about this, but the pattern that you're using will affect how closely you're going to want to trim your pieces. I like to cut them out a little bit more roughly at first and then go back and trim anything that seems like it would do best if it was cut a little bit more closely. Experience and trial and error are going to be your best friends with figuring out what works best in this area. Now for glue, in my experience, you can use any white glue. You can use Mod Podge, you can use Arlene's that I have here, but I will tell you I like to thin the glue down quite a bit, sometimes 50-50, sometimes even more. I also grabbed a candlestick because it's the perfect thing to rest these little spheres on. And you will want a way to set this ball down without it rolling right off your table. And now I'm getting ready to start. I like to start with a bigger piece. And I also like to start at what I'm considering the bottom. By working off one central point, I can use the natural curve and drape of the pattern, in this case it's the leaf, and let it sort of flow down the curve of the sphere. While you can do quite a bit to manipulate the shape with the wet glue, I find that it just is so much easier. Oh, I had to sneeze. I find that it's just so much easier to try to work with the natural shape of the ball in this case, or I even have done this on foam eggs, and just using that curve of the piece of paper and letting it sort of rest on the curve of the sphere, it just makes everything go much more easily and it looks nicer in the end. You have a lot fewer wrinkles and I just think it looks nicer. What I tend to do is sort of tack down the ends of the pieces and then let the other end hang freely so that I can layer these pieces as they start to overlap going down the curve of the ball. So I'm just putting some glue again at the base, kind of along the spine of the leaf in this case, and then I'm also going over top and tacking down the edges of the leaf. As I was layering, things started to get damp and tacky, and if you're not careful and you hold on to those spots, your fingers will start to stick there and you'll have trouble with the pattern coming off on your fingers. So another thing that I've learned to do is have multiple pieces going at a time, and I'll sort of work until I can't hold it comfortably and start getting stuck to the ball, and then I'll set it down and work on another piece. You can see one in the foreground there. And I just keep going, kind of rotating them as they dry and working little by little, using very little glue, really. I know it's quite difficult to see how much I'm using here, but I'm barely touching my brush in and using just a tiny amount as I go, because you can always add more later. And here you can see how it's shaping up. Again, you can tell I haven't super precisely trimmed this. These candle holders really do work incredibly well. So here's one you can see that I'm working on, and you can see the way they start overlapping as you go down toward the other end of the ball. Ella was fascinated by these, and she was picking them out of the bowl and rolling them across the table. Here they are in a little pedestal bowl. I'm just thrilled with these because I can make as many as I like for a very little cost, just the time invested. And they're such a beautiful neutral print. I feel like I can use these throughout the seasons with my decor. I really hope you enjoyed this and you might try this craft for yourself. Thank you so much for watching today, and I will see you in the next video.